Signage is a killer because you can never get signage right. So we tried to take, I think, some of the comments, including Todd's comment at the last meeting, and which was a good one. We don't want to see, 400, 600 square foot signs on East Hanover. And this is a new animal. We tried to look at the ordinance, what's in there. It doesn't work. So we tried to kind of find that balance with, okay, you're probably going to need a freestanding sign for the retail commercial. There'll be a variety of tenants, probably anchor tenants. We tried to put just one sign with some smaller monument signs. Only one wall sign for tenants, except if they're on the two corners, then they can get another sign on the facade facing either the driveway entrance or Martin Luther King, which is not unreasonable. But we tried to keep this fairly straightforward, and we didn't want the signage to be obtrusive, and they would have to come in for variances, which we thought was the better way to go. We would start with something that we felt we were comfortable with, as opposed to being much more permissive on signage. It's difficult to write sign ordinances for a particular tract, but we took our best shot at it.
Can I get you back to page 11 for just a quick?
Sure.
You might want to correct this, I think.
Yeah.
The middle level of retail commercial buildings, you can refer to that. And then on page 8, you say retail commercial buildings will not exceed 2 stories, so there really wouldn't be a middle level.
Well, what we're talking about was a base which doesn't take up the full first story, like a different, and if you look at some of the photo examples, you can see there's a different material on the base,
talking
which is stone.
story.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
and then you'd have brick, and then the roof would be the top level, and there may be some ornamentation on the roof. So that's really what we're talking about. So I could see where you read it being inconsistent, but it's really not.
Well, I just have a quick question. Just
Yeah.
back to page 11.
Yep.
There's a lot of should.
Yeah.
Should.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get maybe some reactions from the board. I think we really want this to be part of this redevelopment, having unique architecture, certain building materials used. Is this something we could add as shall instead of should? If they could come back,
It's a delicate balance, and when we thought of this, and I've done redevelopment plans where you mix the shalls and the shoulds in the same paragraph, and you can never get it perfect.
Right.
So we kind of went more on the design with the should rather than the shall, because we also don't want to kind of put the redeveloper in a hammerlock on some of these things as well. And they may come in with something that meets the intent, but is different, and we don't want to create multiple variance kind of situations, because remember, when we define the term, shall rises to a level of deviation variance, which should does not. So I think that there's enough here. I'm personally comfortable with it, and certainly if I'm still around here as your consultant at the time someone comes into the site plan, I'll know how to kind of take this and give and take with you and any prospective applicant in terms of kind of what I think, even if it doesn't literally meet it, meets the spirit of it. But there's a lot of detail in here that, with a shall, I think is just going to be too much. I mean, you can do shall and should within the paragraph, but then that gets sticky too. I understand your point. I've struggled with this.
Yeah,
With redevelopment, your point is absolutely well taken, but I kind of prefer to go, if we're going to go with anything, with the should, because it is design guidelines as opposed to a setback which is shall, or an FAR which is shall. That's just my professional opinion, but I'm here to serve the board.
But as a should, and I'll direct this to Mr. Warner, does that give us a justification during the site plan reviews to reject it because it doesn't, from your point of view, our point of view, it doesn't meet the spirit of what we were looking for?
You no longer have a variance, and technically at that stage you wouldn't even have a site plan exception, right? So it's I think between the intent that's clear and the planning testimony that would support it, I think you have basis to extract design standards that would be commensurate with the intent as provided by the planner. It's not a variance, it's not an exception, but you can.
We have a basis for finding. We might
You have a
lose
basis
on
for
appeal.
finding it, and yeah, I mean, if you have a sufficient basis to require something that's consistent with the intent.
Okay.
You can get a shall out of a should.
Was it to some people, the word no means maybe, and a maybe is as good as a yes, so yeah. But this is not a no, this is a maybe, and a maybe is as good as a yes for this.
I think that I would agree with that response. Okay. So, we kind of dealt mostly with signage and things like, I mean, only external illumination. We're trying to keep the signage as, you know, as pretty as we can. And suggesting things like, you know, around monuments, like doing a decorative base. I think there's enough in here to give the redeveloper, you know, direction as to what kind of we're looking for on signage. Then landscaping buffers, we talked about, but we spec'd the berm with the help from Jim. We're requiring a fairly significant berm in terms of the width, the height, the mix of plantings, the height of plantings for both the evergreens and the deciduous, a mix of heights and caliper sizes. So this was really important to us in the discussions to provide separation and screening between the retail, commercial, and the residential, because they are relatively physically close. So that berm was an important discussion, and this is a shall. So, or at least the bulk of it's a shall.
I do see some shoulds in there.
Yeah, there are shoulds. But the berm's required. Walking trail.
Should it, or should it mention, or shall it mention, that it should connect with any neighboring trails if appropriate, if they're in there? And I'm not sure if they are there,
I
but.
don't know, are they, Jim, are they connecting trails?
I mean, we do tie it into both MLK and bring it up to the intersection at the Manning driveway. I'm not aware of any other.
Wasn't there something in the Hanover plan across the street?
Well, that whole corridor had called for a trail, and it was, because of the constraints on the residential on our side of the property, was pushed to the north side of Hanover Avenue. And this was something that the county kind of like kicked out there with some discussions. So it does link into that, but the county trail really is on the north side. I mean, they're getting easements and you know, right away from those developers on the opposite side of Hanover Avenue. So this kind of does link into it from the intersection of MLK and Hanover, and then the Mena driveway in Hanover.
All right, so I guess my point is, if for some reason, if there's a place where it might make sense to kind of put our trail into a crosswalk or something across Hanover to that trail system, then the developer should do that.
Yeah. You want to write that in, or, I mean, that could be a site plan issue too, because it makes sense, but.
If we have the opportunity to do that.
So you want me to put something in?
Could we? Okay.
So can something connect to any existing or future trails of other governmental entities or something like that?
Whatever you say, something like that.
Okay. As you know, we are replacing or requiring a rec field in the residential and open space component. We inspect it. We are indicating it's the responsibility of the developer.
I see on the next page, top of page 14,
Yeah.
can we remove the word small for the playground and tot lot? Because it
Sure
doesn't
we
have
can.
to be small.
Sure we can.
We shall do that.
There's a couple things on the planted buffers we talked about. One of the things that we are requiring with a shall is along East Hanover, at least a 20-foot wide landscape buffer in the front. They have a concept plan that I think shows like 20 or 22 feet. And we basically said, you gotta provide that 20 feet. There's gotta be some visual relief, some planted buffer. We don't want the parking right on the right-of-way line, so we're requiring that. And we're also requiring a 15-foot buffer in 2 locations, which are basically where the redevelopment area boundary abuts the I-21 zone. And this is One Quarry Road, which is sort of a multi-tenant industrial warehousing distribution facility. And we wanted to make sure that the residential redeveloper would provide some buffer along these common property lines to provide some level of screening to that industrial zone. And then we have some provision for, and it's in the form of a should, but street trees and street and other plant materials in the parking area to make sure that, again, there's visual relief in the parking area with some landscaping, and it's not just, seas of asphalt without some interruption with some landscape aisles in the parking lot.
Can we do a shall there? I mean, that's, I think the board would be looking for.
We could certainly do it in the first sentence.
Yeah,
Certainly can do it in the first sentence.
in each part.
And then I think we provide the flexibility in terms of the spacing and so forth. But the shall in the first sentence, I think is fine. We have some general standards on lighting, use of LED. We don't really, Jim, we really don't have lighting standards per se in our ordinances, do we?
No.
So we had nothing to sort of mirror, so we just provided some general guidance, with the critical thing being, limiting the spillage at the property, at the boundary lines. And then just, basically saying that we would like to see some kind of decorative fixtures, but, that gives some guidance when they come in and show the fixtures, and you say, well, we want a decorative fixtures. Mechanicals, let's go to the second part. First, screening of both either ground-mounted or roof-mounted, which is typical, something that we desire. That we have something on the PTAC units. Everybody familiar with that? These are the PTAC refers to package terminal air conditioning. And I don't know what the intent is on the multifamily building, but some of the facades where you have the air conditioning unit as part of the facade, it can be really ugly, and there are ways to kind of design that into the facade so that they don't hit you in the head. And we just wanted to make sure that we kind of put that guideline in there. And it really would only relate to the multifamily rental affordable building. Utility connections underground, enclosure of all trash storage areas. So that takes us up to.
Oh, good question. Solar, what if they decide they want solar on all the roofs of the commercial residential properties?
We do have ordinances that cover that,
We do have an ordinance.
that would still apply, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We have a provision here that said if something's not covered, you fall back to the ordinance, so that would be covered. Page 16, this is all boilerplate. You're required to do this per the redevelopment statute. So we had to look at